after so many years of just one-liners and, you know, there's no small role, but let's be honest. There's roles you want and then there's roles you get, right? And this was like too good to be true. But I felt like a fraud. I'm like, they must have made a mistake. They must have made a mistake.
Welcome to Out of Frame, a Nerdy Filmmaker podcast, where I sit down with actors and creators from across the entertainment industry discussing the successes and struggles within their stories. My name is Julian Stamboulieh, aka the Nerdy Filmmaker, and today we are joined by Jonathan Dubsky, an actor best known for his role as Josh in Ubisoft's Watchdogs 2, whose emotional generosity and search for community has led him to find a new, thriving home, streaming on Twitch as PapaJDub. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All
right.
I'm scared. I'm excited.
Hello, John.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for inviting me, man. I was really flattered.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Jonathan Dubsky.
That's my name. That's what my parents called me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good choice on first of both and a last name.
I think, well, interesting. The last name doesn't really belong to us. It's not really our last name.
I think I just said a first of both and a last name. Clearly, I'm the one that's nervous.
No, but I think Jonathan is a decent name. I think you can choose a lot of names. I think Jonathan is one of them you can choose. And I think they did an okay job at choosing it.
Yeah.
Dubsky doesn't come from... So my father's mother, last name was Skavor. And when he was born, I think his biological father was killed during the wartime, and she took on the last name of the man she married afterwards. So Dubsky is not blood related.
Got it. It was like a safety thing, or
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Skavor. What's
Skavor.
that?
Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to check that out afterwards. So, John, you are an actor.
Yes.
You were at one point a director of photography, a writer, and a streamer.
Yep.
But we're going to start right from the beginning. We've already started with the name history.
That is right at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Montreal?
I did. I was born and raised in Beaconsfield in the West Island. Mm-hmm. And I very much had the West Island life until I went to high school.
Very nice. What's the West Island like growing up there?
I mean, it's hard to say. I didn't experience any other childhood, so it was just a lot of going to the mall, going to the park. There were a lot of sports in town. Growing up in the 80s and 90s was all about being outside with your friends, climbing trees, going to the park, skateboarding, playing tennis. We just had a pretty basic suburban life for the most part, I'd say.
Solid.
Yeah.
Did you have dreams as a child? Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yes, but they kind of changed a little bit along the way. I think, it's hard to remember exactly the timeline, but I remember. So I guess I can just say one of the ways I found acting was because my brother's best friend growing up, named Kenny Vadas, was a kind of like a child superstar in Montreal. He was in a show called Eric's World. He had a pretty cool role in The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. And he and my brother were like best friends growing up. And I remember just like thinking like, oh my God, like that's so dope. That's so cool that you're in like movies and TV shows.
Eric's World, was that a white TV show?
I think so.
Feels like it was.
I'm not sure, but I think so.
And I think what was interesting about the 90s was that there was, and I was actually talking to a casting agent here about that, there were a lot of shows for kids.
Yeah.
Not only watch, but to act in. Mm-hmm. And so the whole community of actors that are still here or have moved on got this amazing training from shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
Or
The Midnight Society.
Student Bodies.
Student Bodies, yeah.
And so many people came out of that, but they don't have that anymore. So there's a lot of younger actors who are not getting the on-set training that generation did.
Where was Student Bodies filmed?
I don't know.
Good.
I'm assuming here.
No, I think it is. I just don't know where, if it was like Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver even. I don't know.
So chilling in the West Island.
Yeah.
And after that, where did you end up going to school?
I started out at a place called EPB, École Primaire Beaconsfield, and then this is a lot to unpack. Oh my goodness. I was very much the fat kid in school. I wouldn't go as far as saying I was morbidly obese, but I was getting to that point. So a lot of my childhood, as far as I can remember, from like preschool or kindergarten to at least grade 4, was like I was the fat kid in school. And that made me develop a sense of defensiveness. And I think I explored humor as a result. But more than anything, I think I just desperately lacked the feeling of acceptance and wanting to, people to be friends with me and want to be around me. And I think along with my brother's best friend, I think having someone close to my social circle at the time because of Kenny, along with the experience I had in elementary school, I thought, maybe people would accept me and like me if I was interesting. And how could I be interesting? Well, then I got to be an actor. I got to get in shows and I got to get in movies, and then maybe people will want to be friends with me. That was basically like the beginning of everything. Because prior to that, I think the other thing that I really wanted to do and I was obsessed with was I wanted to be a surgeon. And I had all these books at home, and I'd learned the anatomy of the body. I could name you any bone, and all the organs, how everything worked together, and I was just like super infatuated with that. But
you know what I've always found is the most interesting artists are the ones that were originally scientists. I've always found that people who have a science background but then fall into the arts always have really interesting things to say.
do you know of anyone?
There was a lot when I was studying photography.
Yeah.
That every time I would be drawn to a certain style of photo,
Yeah.
it's actually that person is switching careers or something like that.
One of the, although I found acting because I wanted to be impressive in my mind, projecting my insecurities, thinking the world will accept me more if I'm interesting to them. But I think one of the interesting things going into acting was just understanding behavior, understanding like where behavior and nuance of personality comes from. And although I kind of found it for strange reasons, I wanted people to like me. What ended up being discovered through the process was I'm getting to learn a lot about myself. Like I'm really understanding what it means for me to be in my skin, what emotions feel like, where they come from, how I connect to myself and to characters and to stories. And like something much more profound was kind of discovered in the process of something that started off very vain.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I mean, I got into acting because I wanted to impress girls.
Yeah.
That's why I got in.
Did it work?
No.
Oh, yes, it did. I find you very impressive.
Thank you very much.
Hey, baby.
Oh, my God. And so what did you end up studying in university?
By the time I got around to university, I was studying film. I think, and a lot of actors can probably relate, when you are an actor in a city that does not provide, the amount of work for everyone to get a piece of the pie. And because of the advances in technology, like the cameras we're using right now, you could find a way to make your own work for a fairly reasonable price. Cameras were, at the time, a couple of $100 or $1,000. You could pick up some lights, a microphone, and just not allow the industry to be the one to allow you the opportunity to work. You could do it just by writing something, getting together with friends. So I kind of navigated my way through that, learning all about cameras and lighting and sound and editing. And I spent, so many years exploring that and spending time in school, and I fell in love with the craft. And then for many years, I started shooting, anything you could get work for, whether it was talking heads or if you were going to go shoot weddings or any kind of like docu stuff. But I think, I don't know, like I was saying before, and this, I just want to preface this by saying that this is just my experience. I wouldn't say this is going to be true for everyone. But you know that saying where if you do the thing you love, you never work a day in your life? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that rings true for me. Mm-hmm. Because I found that by doing the thing that I was really passionate about, what once was a hobby and a labor of love became laborsome and repetitive and tiring, and I kind of lost the joy and the ambition to pursue that side of things.
And do you think that was about the specific things? Because I don't know if you you were going into it. When I met you, you were an actor, but you were also, I knew you as a director of photography, right?
Yeah.
As well as an actor, because we were in Dynamic Theater Factory together. I don't know if your passion was the cinematography or cinematography of your own ideas or of friends' ideas, right? Because maybe it was the commercialization aspect of it and the industry aspect of it that ruined it, as opposed to the actual work itself.
I would say that like the DP side, I think I was definitely a director and a DOP, but I think I found myself doing more DOP stuff because it was about something I could create by myself. Like I could set up my own lights. I can learn about lighting ratios, color correction in post. There was a lot more kind of control that you can do without a team of people. Whereas when you're directing, you generally require someone else on camera, or maybe you're doing the camera work yourself. You need performers. You need that team of people to be able to direct.
Yeah.
Whereas just being a DOP, I could set it up, a camera by myself. I can make the lighting. I could finesse it and learn as I go. So there was that kind of like control, I guess, that didn't require a lot of people around you to explore and to grow and learn. So definitely like that is what interested me. But I think what I was doing work with a camera that I enjoyed for a small period of time, but then I just kept finding myself doing it to pay the bills. And what was once interesting became repetitive and mundane and stressful, to the point where every time I looked at a camera, instead of getting excited and motivated, I was like, here we go again.
Will you find yourself being pulled back to acting and just kind of like you wanted to leave that aside and really just focus on acting?
I don't know. I mean, I never really stopped acting during the whole time. Like I studied film in school because I didn't know if I wanted to pursue theater in school. I was doing classes outside of school. Like I was doing workshops once in a while, on camera classes. And I just felt like that portion of my like artistic exploration was taken care of. And I felt like by going into film, I might develop, and as you know, like a lot of the business is not just what you can do, but who you know, because you can't do this by yourself. So I felt like by going into film, I would get a degree. Maybe I would have an opportunity to make a few connections, work on some interesting things, and the snowball would eventually lead me somewhere in the film world. But I didn't realize that it would just, for me at least, end up being a nice piece of paper on my wall. But I enjoyed the experience. Like I did get to do some really cool things, and I learned a lot about producing and writing. But filmmaking, I mean, it's an art. It's just you learn when you do it.
Following that, first off, at what point did you find your first agent, and who was your first agency?
Well, that happened a little bit before university. I think I was still I was in SAGEP. I was in theater at John Abbott. So I was just trying to find experiences. So I ended up signing up for a student film, and I booked the lead on that. And my co-star, I don't remember her name now, but she had an agent. And I was like, oh my God, like you're a pro. Like, how did you do it? And when you're not in the business and you don't have an agent, you think like, oh my God, you have an agent. Like you have the keys to the universe. Please let me know. How can I get in? What can I do? Can you give me their email or phone number? But I kind of did that to some extent. And you know, she's no longer with us, but Susan Glenn was that agent. And don't get emotional. Yeah, so I just remember calling. I think I just sent an email at first saying I would like to meet, and I sent her, headshots that I had taken in my living room, and a little demo reel of me doing a couple of scenes that I shot by myself and some excerpts from plays. She agreed to meet with me, and I went over to her offices, and we didn't have that long of a discussion, but she said she had heard about me from our mutual co-star. And she signed me basically that day and sent me on for an audition to Andrea Kenyon, I think that same day. And it was my very first audition. I was terrified. Not only was I terrified, but it was for an improvised show called, I don't know if you remember, Prank Patrol.
Yeah.
And I was auditioning for the new host. I didn't book it, but I got a call back. But that was kind of the beginning, and that happened during SAGEP. So that was right before I went into film school.
Right. Susan started so many people's careers in the city. She was my first agent too.
Yeah.
She was awesome. Now, now her daughter is
Chelsea. Yeah.
Chelsea is keeping that agency
and
going.
Chelsea's amazing.
And so,
she's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was your first audition, was Prank Patrol.
Yeah.
It was your first official audition outside of the student film.
At Andrea Kenyon's, and I'd heard of the name. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is insane. I'm so nervous.
My first audition was at Elite Casting.
Elite.
And
wow.
I had to choke myself out. I was someone being choked, and it was a silent on camera role, a student being choked.
Wow, how did that go?
Not good. Not good. I was
Not
so uncomfortable
good.
that I
what
just
do
went.
I do?
I was like, oh, I could just. And then I was like, yeah, and action. I went. And I literally
do I just
choked myself and just kind of slinked down the wall.
That's hilarious. That's really funny.
I also did not get the
You
part.
didn't book it. I can't imagine. What?
I know.
They missed an opportunity.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You are out of university.
Yep.
You're in the big world now.
Big world. Huge. Yeah.
Big
Massive.
world. You're still in the West Island at this point?
Yes. For not much longer, because I met my wife at John Abbott. So my last year of John Abbott, I met her while we were rehearsing for, I think it was Godspell. She and I started dating on January 25th, 2005. And shortly after university, Anna was still exploring, she didn't know exactly what she wanted to do. So she went back to school. Originally we met when she was in the creative arts program at John Abbott. And then she continued in that vein in design at Concordia, but she had a hard time with comparison. There was a lot of people around in the program who seemingly already were working and had portfolios to show. And I think the stress and the pressure and the comparison just really got to her. Eventually she went back to school and got prerequisites to go into the sciences, which was the best thing that ever happened to her other than me.
I mean,
and then
that smile.
And then her scholastics took her to U of T, and we moved to Toronto, the Six, as they say, the Six. I've never said that in my life. It feels good.
So what year was that?
We moved to Toronto. I think it was 2012, roughly. So we were in Montreal a couple of years after university, and I was just probably auditioning and shooting weddings and the gigs and whatnot. Right. Yeah.
I mean, you must have been excited to try out Toronto, because all actors in this city always dream of trying out Toronto.
Definitely. I was scared. I was excited. It was also the first time I was moving away from home. So I was with my parents until I was 26, roughly. Not complaining. That was wonderful. It allowed me to save a little bit of money and get ready to go out. And I was also getting to finally live with the love of my life. We'd been dating for so many years up until that point. But yeah, Toronto that was exciting. That was a crazy ride.
Tell me about your first impressions as an actor in Toronto.
Huge difference. I had heard stories about Toronto actors and how cutthroat it was. And my experience could not have been more different. I mean, there are so many actors over there. The community is very big, welcoming, not exclusive. And when I went there, they'd already had this thing called, which Montreal has as well, the YAC committee. So I had an opportunity to as soon as I got there, join the YAC meetings, meet a couple of actors, go to a couple of the mixers, parties, whatnot. Mm-hmm. And through that, I just kind of felt now I've been taken into the community, and I started finding out about acting classes, and there are more acting classes in Toronto than there are Tim Hortons. And it's there's just so much going on. There's energy and buzz, and people are working on projects. And there's this, I wouldn't compare it to New York, but closer to New York than Montreal. And there's just so much going on all the time. You can't help but want to get off your ass and do stuff, which was exactly what I needed.
And did you already know some actors that were there?
I mean, I knew a couple of the Montreal crew. Yeah. I knew Jesse Camacho were there. I knew Alex Harouche was there. I knew Katie Breer was there.
Was Alex Wiener there yet?
Alex Wiener, I think he was. I think he was. Anyway, I don't want to dox them on your podcast. Sorry, guys.
I don't think he was living on 364.
Yeah, no, I knew a couple of them, but I was really ready to just kind of meet a whole new set of people and yeah, just jump and see what happens.
Your agent was repping you there as well. Were you finding work?
Sort of, yes. And to be fully transparent, when I got to Toronto, Glen Talent had an office in Toronto. They were still a new kid in town at that point. And I was concerned, I couldn't prove it, but I projected, and I was concerned that me being a new face in a new town with a somewhat new agency would mean that I would have to go through years of growing pain to eventually get noticed, only to maybe move back eventually at the end of it. So I very nervously and with great hesitation, I ringed up Susan, and I expressed that I had taken a meeting with characters and that they had agreed to take me on. But I didn't know whether or not it would be cool with Glen Talent. And they said, yeah, no problem. We'll do the split commission thing. It's totally fine. But I've unfortunately said, like, you know, I'm not sure I'm comfortable at this point to just stay with the agency, being a new actor in a new town with a new rep, with a new rep in town. And she was okay with it. She understood. And I spent about a year and a half with characters. I won't say the agent's name, just out of respect. And it was not the best experience because Characters is a big agency, like a really big agency. And they already had, and again, this is my projection a little bit, but I think it's reasonable. They had some really big hitters on their roster. So they didn't necessarily have the drive or the motivation to pick up the phone and tell the casting agent, you have to see my new client, because they're already making their six figures from their big hitters. So I got into a few auditions here and there, mostly commercial, mostly voice, a couple of TV, a couple of film. And it was busy for a couple of months, and then like nothing for a couple of months, unless I rang them up and was like, hey, what's going on? Can I see what you're submitting me for, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, oh, sure, let's go for lunch and discuss it. And we would do that same dance every 3 to 4 months. Like, oh, it's been quiet. Oh, it's fine. You just give it time, be patient, blah, blah, blah. Let's go for lunch. Mm-hmm. And we would do that again and again. And then eventually I just thought, like, man, I feel like I need to go with an agency that can really take care of me. And maybe it was a mistake not staying with Glen Talent, because I've spent the same amount of time just trying to make a name for myself with a big agency when I could have been doing the same thing with Glen Talent. Mm-hmm.
I think there's one of the ongoing struggles that actors have is the complicated relationship between themselves and their agent. I think that there's always this question that we have about what is our agent working for us right now?
Yeah.
You know, are they getting my name out? Are they do this or that? And 9 times out of 10, it's just us.
Yeah.
Putting things in our we're wanting to find a reason for why we're not booking or auditioning or whatever. Which means that when it does come around a time when you do have a really honest suspicion that this is not working, I'm sure you were having that question in your mind about, you know, is this actually something authentic to be worried about?
Absolutely. There were definitely instances where like the relationship was giving me pause, and I just felt a lack of, not that they weren't genuine, but I don't know. I didn't feel like I was getting the attention that was required for someone who was new to the city. I needed someone on my roster that was willing to just have a fight for me and pick up the phone and have the uncomfortable conversation and really go out of their way to try and knock on some doors to let me in. Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
John, you landed a very exciting role.
Yes.
A character in Watchdogs 2, which was a very, as far as I understand, from what I've read, a very well-received character.
Yes.
And this was the character of Josh.
Josh Savchak.
And you were acting alongside some great performers as well, Sean Baichu.
Michael Xavier, Ruffin Prentice played the main character of the game. There was Tassia Tellis. John Tench, Sean Baichu playing Wrench.
And what year did you audition for that? And tell me about that audition process.
So we recorded, I remember I was celebrating my 30th birthday while we were recording in Montreal, which would have been...
That's like 30 years ago.
Which was 30 years ago. No, it would have been 2016, which means I would have auditioned for it late 2015 through multiple rounds of auditions. And anyone who's worked in video games knows when you're auditioning for a game, you have no fucking clue what you're auditioning for. It's called some ridiculous name. And unless you're familiar with a couple of the games that the studio has made, like you can't really know for sure what game you're working on. For that particular game, there were 4 rounds of auditions. 1 audition and 3 callbacks. And oh my God, dude, let me tell you, the character changed again and again and again from one audition to the next. Originally, Josh's character was supposed to be closer to Wrench, like outgoing, this kind of, at least in the audition, he was like a YouTube personality, like super boisterous and animated and stuff like that. And then on the last round of auditions, when I was like, when Susan called me and they're like, we need to do one more audition. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, it's all good. We're so close. Get the sides in. And now it's revealed to me that Josh Souchak, the character, is autistic. And I was like, of course it has to start with something that I've become very familiar with. I've gone through 3 rounds of it. And now it's like, great. Now for the last round of auditions, I want you to be a dragon instead. It's like, I don't know how to do that. Like I've been a camp counselor. I've spent a lot of time around kids with Asperger's on various areas of the spectrum, but I'm so close to this once in a lifetime opportunity. And now this is going to be fucked because I have no idea how this is going to go down. So I did my best and turned out it was what they were looking for. Thank God. Because this is like winning the jackpot.
Yep.
You know, like these kind of opportunities don't come around. Yeah, it was nuts.
And so you remember where you were when you got the news?
Oh yeah. I was at home and Susan called me and she's like, "I've got some bad news," and I was just like, "Okay, fine." She said, "You're gonna have to tell Anna and your dog that you're gonna need to spend some time away." I'm gonna cry. It was. You're gonna have to tell them you're gonna spend some time away because you booked the role. And I just started to bawl. Oof. It was after so many years of just one-liners and, you know, there's no small role, but let's be honest. There's roles you want and then there's roles you get, right? And this was like too good to be true. I'll never forget that. But I felt like a fraud. I'm like, they must have made a mistake. They must have made a mistake. Yeah.
Like I can tell you that from our end, the spectators seeing our friends, and I know you feel this about your friends and whatever, but whenever we know someone who we love and respect and we see them get a role that they deserve,
Yeah.
you know, it's always very very satisfying for us too. So
Yeah,
I was really happy to see you get that role.
Yeah, that was really exciting.
Yeah.
That was a game changer. That was life changing.
Yeah. So you recorded it.
So we recorded
It's motion capture, full motion capture.
Performance capture.
Performance capture.
Performance capture. So for those who don't know, motion capture is just when you're wearing the suit and you got the dots. As soon as you put on the camera to record your facial movements and your voice, that's performance capture. So we did 2.5 months of that in the studio in Montreal. At the time, I was living in Toronto, so they got to fly us out because I wasn't a local anymore. Oh. They flew us out and they put us up in a hotel, and we lived there for a couple of months. And it was an experience, man. Oh my God. Yeah, that was once in a lifetime. That was crazy.
And I can only imagine. I mean, even when you were listing off the other people that were in the game with you, I feel like that kind of thing, just like any other set, breeds a family.
Oh yeah, especially in the video game world. Like when you're working on film, TV. Things move at such a speed, you're not necessarily living with the people, but like working in a video game, and I say this with the utmost respect, when you're surrounded by a bunch of nerds like you are, and you're working on this game and you're in the volume and you've got the freedom to take your time and develop and discover as you go, it just created this incredible bond where they were open to suggestions. Now, I had done a lot of research about autism and Asperger's. I had read books, I'd watched interviews, I had done studies, it was a scary job, put it this way. Mm-hmm. It was a scary job because I was portraying someone I am not, and the last thing I wanted to do was to insult or
overplay
or
whatever.
overplay. Exactly. And I know that if I don't treat this role with the utmost respect, that I'm going to feel disgusting with myself. And this is going to be something that's going to last forever. The rest of the cast can attest to this, that I came to work every day scared because unlike them, they had their own job to do, but nobody was doing something that could backfire on them badly if they made a mistake.
I mean, to be fair, that's how I run my sets too. I want everyone to always come to set scared.
Yeah.
It's
when you get the best out of the actor. Are you comfortable? No, you shouldn't be. That was terrible. Let's go again.
Why are there thumbtacks on my chair?
This is toxic.
So you can't, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't announce this. You can't announce yet that you've done this role.
No,
and
not at all.
How long was there between?
I think I don't remember exactly, but until like my character wasn't even announced, because originally they'd released for Watchdogs 2 trailers where you saw like Wrench's character, you saw Ruffin's character, you saw Tassia's character, but mine hadn't been announced yet. So I wasn't even allowed to talk about it when they revealed the trailers. I don't remember exactly when I got the okay, but yeah, I mean, as soon as I was allowed to, I told like everyone, like, are you kidding me? Like, yo, I'm in a video game. This is crazy. Yeah.
What's it like playing a game that you're in?
I talk about this all the time on my stream. Like, I'm so biased because I was in it, but like legitimately, one of my favorite computer games was Grand Theft Auto 5, and Watch Dogs 2 for me was like Grand Theft Auto 5 with way more heart, with way more sense of play and joy, with an incredible cast and camaraderie and teamwork. It's one of my favorite games. Like, it's so much fun. You can go guns blazing. You can try and be like a hacker. You can play things from different perspectives and ways. And the game is just, and every time I play it, I get to see my friends again and hear their voices and the memories of working on it and stuff. And yeah, it's crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you, so the game gets released.
Yep.
It gets really good reviews.
Yeah.
It does very well.
It did well on the Metacritics.
And I believe that at that point you started also going out to a couple of conventions.
Yeah, we did Montreal Comic-Con 2 years. We went to, I'm forgetting the name of the one in Toronto. It's not Comic-Con. It's
Fan Expo?
Fan Expo. And then we did a Comic-Con in Ottawa as well. That was a weird experience because you really feel like a phony. Like, we had fans from across the world come and meet us and bring us gifts and did signings and photos. And like, when you're in the green room and you're surrounded by like John Rhys-Davies and like Will from Boy Meets World, and you're just around these like Jason Isaacs, and you're sitting down and chatting with them, and you're like, I really shouldn't be here. This is a mistake, but I'm going to talk to you since I have access to you. But that was wild. And John Rhys-Davies, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but like Lord of the Rings was the thing that got me out of sciences to acting full time, was when I found out those movies were being made. And I was like, if those experiences exist, I'm getting out of sciences in SageUp and going right into theater. So I expressed to him my gratitude for like his involvement in the movies that changed my life. And we took a photo, and he tickled me on the side, and we just exchanged a few stories. And man, it was wild. It was crazy.
That tickle will be remembered forever.
Yeah, because he got me to smile. The picture, my smile is like this wide. It's incredible. He's such a sweet guy. Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And so, do you have any good moments, any memorable moments with fans at these things?
With fans, I mean, all of them. All the ones that came that are super, super active on Twitter and were promoting the game and talking about and reposting. But I think, and this isn't from a fan, but one of my most memorable moments was Charles Martinet was like a couple of booths over. And for those of you who don't know Charles Martinet, he's Mario. Like, he's the voice of Mario. He's the voice of my childhood. And there could not be a sweeter person in the whole world. And I went to him and I'm like, dude, you've been involved in my life since I was a kid. And we just exchanged these stories. And I told him we're in Watch Dogs 2, a game you probably don't know about, but whatever. Like, what has your life been like? This must be a fucking roller coaster. And he told me a little anecdotal story where he was giving a speech in a hall. And one kid went up to the mic while he was talking. And he said, the kid went up, I think he was about 8 or 10 years old. And he said, Charles, thank you so much for your work as Mario. This is going to make me so emotional again. I'm such a wreck. He said that Mario was the game that he would play in the hospital while his father was dying from cancer. And Charles just started crying. And he just started crying, and he just put his hand on my shoulder, and he says, we're the luckiest people in the world to get to do what we do. And I was like, you are the purest fucking soul. You've been doing this for so long. You're not jaded. You're just grateful. And I can feel the love out of your heart. And I'm such a big fan. I've always been a fan, but now I'm a diehard fan for this guy. Yeah. Ugh.
I find that because with LARPs, we did a little bit of festival run as well. And I remember at one point we were doing a panel discussion, and we got a really, really powerful and intimate piece of feedback from someone in the audience who basically was thanking us for almost in a way saving their life, where they said that, because of LARPs or because of their background in LARPing, they'd always been picked on and all this kind of stuff. And it was, they were in a dark place. Yeah. And it was the show that kind of made them feel like they had a new set of friends.
Yeah. It's a great show.
Thank you.
So good.
But it's in those moments where, like you're saying, those are the moments where I actually feel like the biggest imposter.
Yeah.
Why can't we take it? Why can't we take the compliment or the thank you? Because that's what we're doing this for a lot of the times, is we're making things to speak to people and to relate to people. So why is it that when we finally get the note that we've succeeded in that, do we no longer feel like we're valid?
I think it's easier for me to appreciate that kind of thing now where I am in my life. But I definitely understand what you're saying, because now, it's just accepting gratitude. That's all it is. I think when we hear that kind of feedback, we inflate it in our minds to what it means to them is something that is greater than what it is, when it's just a thank you and love and appreciation and gratitude for what you did. And when you just boil it down to that, it's just connection. And to be on the receiving end of that, it's thank you. Thank you for giving me that gift. And it's just, you're a fan of so many things. If you had the opportunity to go and talk to someone you care about and just express your gratitude and love, they're just doing the same for you. So yeah, you put your ego aside and you hear them from their heart, and it's just, thank you so much. And I'm so grateful that you've been able to tell this to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You finished Watchdogs.
Yep. Sadly. Didn't go on forever. No. Damn it.
Now, probably like anyone who received a role like that, they probably think smooth sailing from now on. Yeah. And that this is just going to lead to the next big thing. And I think that's what we all strive for as artists as well, is that anytime we create something, it leads to the next thing. Yeah. But our life is not linear. No. Our career is not linear.
No. I was in a pretty dark place after those games were done. Like, after the hype had faded out and I was still living in Toronto and no new doors had opened, and I was still living in a roach-infested apartment, and I just, I don't want to say I'm to blame, but your ego goes there, and you think wow, now that this game has been released and people appreciate it, they're going to want me. They will accept me. They will allow me to audition for things. They will give me access that I didn't have access to before. And, for better or worse, I learned that the hard way. And I spent many, many, many dark months just kind of remunerating and thinking about what it is I was after. I just won the Stanley Cup. Is this as good as it gets? Was I lucky to get that role to begin with? Was it a mistake? And, doubt starts to set in, and you don't really know what to do with yourself for a really long time. And you start to resent the fact that you got the opportunity. That was the hardest part, was just thinking if I hadn't had that, my life would be better now, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. sometimes that it feels like almost like you were promised something
Yeah.
with that success, and then it was kind of not true. It was taken away.
Yeah.
Where it's like you get a taste of it, but then they just take it back.
Yeah. Obviously, though, I just gotta say, like, it's not a healthy way to approach it. But like, I'm human. I fuck up. Like my ego, my head gets in the way, and I only bring that up to say, like, anyone out there, you can experience the same thing, and you're not wrong for thinking that way or feeling that way. It's just part of your nature, and for better or worse, you go through that experience and you learn. So that's what happened.
Yeah. At what point did you end up moving back to Montreal? And, was it a work decision, or was it that Anna was kind of done with her studies or her work there, or?
Yeah, it was kind of both. Anna had finished her PhD. She defended. She got it. She won. And she won. She won her PhD.
She won school.
She got the prize. She won school. She beat it. And also, like, I was starting to work more regularly doing voice work in Montreal. But I was also being booked as a local. So that meant if I was doing like a local radio spot where you're making maybe $500 after everyone takes their cut, about 100 of that was spent traveling back and forth. And the cheapest way to travel back and forth was Megabus, which meant 7 hours one way, 7 hours back to make a couple of $100, getting sore. And that would happen once or twice a month. And I just got fed up with the fact that I was living in one city and working more in the city that I left. So I thought, we're eventually going to want to, buy a place and start a family. And I was thinking about the big picture and not just like the immediacy of how important it is to be in Toronto and thinking of other things. So yeah, we ended up moving back to Montreal. And we bought a little condo in Verdun, and things just kind of continued the same, but I wasn't living in a city that I felt estranged. And even though I love Toronto, everything about Toronto I love. I love the energy. I love the fact that you bike around everywhere. Parks, beaches, there's so much to do. There's so much activity. There's so much energy. But Montreal, I was closer to family. There was a bit more safety, even though I don't like safety. I feel like safety is death. But it was like, it made the most sense at the time.
And so you were still in that kind of dark space when you came back to Montreal?
Yeah, I was definitely battling with it because I felt like when I left Toronto that I'd failed. I was just another one of those actors that moved to Toronto and like it didn't work out. Even though that wasn't true, because by all means I was still working once in a while, but I felt defeated. I was like, I didn't make it. I felt a little busted. Yeah.
And at what point did that start to alleviate? What were you doing to kind of help fight that feeling, to overcome that feeling, or to accept that feeling?
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone's mental health journey is different. But when I was doing more Meisner in Toronto, before I had moved, like in the last year or two, I just started to really just be okay. I don't know what it was, but just learning that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to be human, but also learn how to deal with negative emotion. Learn how to deal with being angry. Learn how to deal with being sad, so that I could stop kind of sitting on my pain and find a way of expressing it, so that I could get that stuff out without hurting myself or other people more. Diving deeper into what it means to be human and just being okay with that. It started to alleviate a little bit of the pressure, bit by bit by bit, and then I think I just started to get to a place where I was, from sinking to floating on the water. And I just kind of continued in that trajectory of allowing myself to feel without making meaning of it. Like, if this isn't going the way I want it to go, it makes me feel this way, but it doesn't mean I'm X, Y, or Z. It's just, this is how I feel.
A wise woman once said to me, "It's okay to have feelings, but you shouldn't be having feelings about your feelings."
That's exactly it.
Beatrice Warner. So you're back in Montreal.
Yeah.
The year is, I'm guessing, 2022. PapaJDub is born.
Oh, streaming. My goodness. Are we gonna get another jump scare? Oh! Fish my wish. Oh no. It started a bit earlier than that. I started streaming it was literally right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I was desperate for something. Like if I don't have any kind of schedule, then everything kind of falls down for me. So for a couple of years, like I'm a big gamer and I've been gaming since I was a kid. But I remember there was a point where I became aware of Twitch and I didn't think much of it at the time. I thought it was, if I'm being open and honest, I thought it was a bit weird that people would spend their time watching other people play games and then give them money to play games and hang out. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm never going to immerse myself in this. This makes absolutely no sense. But I'm kind of curious. Kind of curious. And I've got a microphone and I've got cameras and I play games anyway, like during the day. Can I maybe turn this into something productive? And I knew that I had Watchdogs in my back pocket. And I thought, again, my ego was like, if I start going live,
they'll come.
They will come. They will come. And they did at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think when I started streaming, I had, and this was very good for me, I had like 30, 40, 50 viewers at the beginning. And then I guess once the honeymoon phase, exactly. Once people were like, oh, there's Josh. And then, 2 months later, he's there, whatever, no big deal. The number started going down. So it went from like 50 to 40 to 30 to 20 to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people sometimes. And that became really soul crushing because that told me that people were more interested in the fact that I was something from something they cared about rather than being interested in me. And I almost quit a couple of times because I had a negative relationship with streaming because of that. But at the same time, I knew when I just looked at my acting, there were many times I could have given up that I wanted to give up because it wasn't happening yet. But the only way I could fail is if I stop. And I knew that streaming could be something that is mine, that nobody sends me signs to audition for, that nobody has to give me the call, okay, we want you to show up. No one has to sign that paycheck or give me permission to work. This can be something that is completely mine and my own. It works so perfectly as an actor. Your work is so sporadic. You don't know when you're going to have a gig, but you know when you can show up to stream and you can build that community over time.
You mentioned building community.
Yeah.
He started off with a lot of viewers and they tapered off. Same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
However, I will say that...
When did you start streaming? 2015?
Yeah.
You were on Twitch?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been on Twitch for a very long time, and I have like 400 followers.
Yeah.
But that's fine because what I decided, and this is only really like a recent thing, because I had that same reaction as you did, but the recent decision that I came to was that while I am now this year decided I'm going to take the aesthetic of it and the interactivity of it a bit more seriously, to me, it's a way to force myself to take a break. So I put so much weight on metrics, on everything to do with my life, and that's something that I told myself that I won't do. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try and grow it because I enjoy trying to. But if it doesn't work, it's still my break.
Yeah,
it's a way to force myself to play a video game.
Yeah. It's like you're going live. You're now accountable to, even if there's one person watching, you show up and you get to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But community.
Yeah.
In your channel.
Yeah.
First off, it starts with two things, in my opinion. One, an amazing leader, which is you. You champion such amazing, positive emotions and support to everyone, but also the people that have been with you.
Yeah.
And I see the chat.
Yeah.
The people that are in that chat that are your mods,
yeah,
and your longtime watchers, they're bringing that message along, and so Tell me about the community.
I don't even know, man. It's just this Twitch experience, and things have only really started to pick up in the last like 6 months, I would say. Because for the first year and a half, it was kind of like what you described. It started like that, and then it went down, and then it kind of stayed there for a long time. I got lucky. And the reason I got lucky was because I was playing a game called Phasmophobia. Can you give me a sign, and where are you? Oh my God, motherfucker! Oh, I want to strangle! And this really sweet woman that goes by the name Alyssa Always dropped into one of my streams one day, and I just became friends with her. I started hanging out with her streams, and through her, I was introduced to so many different streamers and a larger community that I could have ever imagined. And I started spending time in like these other people's communities. And when they streamed, I would be there, and I would see a couple of names that I recognized. And then surely enough, we would start chatting, and those names would start coming to my channel. And the more time I started investing in being there for other people and other streamers, the more I started to see like, oh, people are now coming to my channel. And it is not something that I had done for the first year and a half of streaming, even 2 years of streaming. I was only kind of doing it for me, myself, and I, and that was it. And I am so glad that she popped in, because the experience that I was having before compared to what I have now, and the community that I've met now, they support me, and I tell them this all the time because they just kick ass. They support me. They've changed my life. Like, my wife and I live a fairly frugal, but like, what's the word?
Humble.
Sure. A humble. We get by with what we need. We don't go over the top with any kind of lavish expenses. We pay for what we need, and we're happy with that. And I would say since October, I have made, and I won't say, but like I've made, it challenges what I make acting. And they have been able to, in the last 5 months, like show me that I can actually make a living showing up, having fun, expressing, sharing, and just doing what we do Monday to Friday. And still to this moment, it feels like I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. Like I'm waiting for the moment they're going to find out like this guy's actually an asshat, and they're going to stop coming, because it feels too good to be true.
You may be an asshat.
Yes.
But you're our asset.
Thank you.
And so now that you have had time streaming,
yeah,
what's the answer to the question is, why would people do this? Why would people sit down and watch a streamer?
I mean, community is the obvious answer. I've only lived this lifetime, but from what I can say, I've never felt so disconnected than I have during the digital age. But Twitch is a place where you've got someone on your screen that is playing a game and interacting with you live. It's a conversation with a bunch of different people at the same time. It's active. Someone explained this to me the other day, where, you know, the parents didn't understand why there would be an interest in Twitch. And they said, well, why do you watch TV? Why do you watch movies? What is it you're getting? You're sitting down and you're absorbing material. Like you're consuming entertainment. Twitch and streaming is the exact same thing, but it's a dialogue. You're watching entertainment, you're consuming entertainment, but you are actively participating in that thing on top of building relationships and forming community and sharing in moments. And it's there for you Monday to Friday. So you can always come back to it. And the people that you love and have developed bonds with will be there too. And I think I don't know, it's one of the silver linings of the pandemic. I think it's given a lot of people the opportunity to find that connection that they've so desperately been missing in their lives for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. You've got siblings. Mm-hmm. You remember what it was like watching them play games when you were a kid. You were just sitting on the couch. You weren't even playing.
Well, they watched me.
They watched you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. They got that same experience. They don't have to be the one playing the game, but they like being a part of the process. And that's exactly what Twitch or streaming in general provides.
You know what the funny part is?
What?
My brother doesn't understand why people watch Twitch.
That's amazing.
a lot of people are surprised that you can make money off of Twitch.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you want to be growing more? Is that in the forefront of your mind?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how does one do that?
So in the literal sense, what it means to make more money is to get more bits, more subscriptions, find ways for audience engagement that requires some kind of monetary exchange. How does one do that? You got to grow your audience and got to give them something that they want. How do you grow your audience? Well, again, you can go about it a few ways. Either you're one of the best, I don't know, Fortnite players, so you've got a skill that everyone is really tuned in to want to watch, or you're like an over-the-top personality that people like to tune into, or I do what I do, which is I'm just myself and I share all of me. Like the best parts of me, when we had our baby, I used the stream as a way to it's not a therapy replacement, but I let people in on my struggles and was vulnerable with them. And I let them see who I am for better or worse. Some days I stream and I'm in a great mood. And that's one kind of energy. Some days I'm in a bad mood and I don't pretend like I'm okay. I just let people see me for better or worse. One of the things that I've seen, as I said before, one of the ways that my channel started to grow was by spending more time engaging in other communities that have a viewer base that enjoys a similar kind of content that I like to play on Twitch. So yes, you can definitely go at it strategically, like, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours a day hanging out with other streamers and their channels and engaging with the hope that it'll return viewership to me. I think that could work. I think there are people who could do that. But if you are someone who just enjoys spending time with other gamers with the similar type of enjoyment out of games that you play, you end up just reaching out to other communities, finding other people, spending time. You start to get to know each other on a more personal basis, and things kind of just like in life, like when you network in life, they grow organically. And of course, when you network in life, there's always you're not just doing it for the sake of it. There's something that you want. There's something that they want. You guys can help each other out. So I think very much anyone who's looking at growing on the platform, and I'm still working on this myself, but if you're spending 3 hours a day streaming or 4 hours a day streaming, try and reserve some time outside of that window to support other streamers who come to your channel and spend time with you and share their community with you. And, the tide rises all ships, right? So it's just, you invest in yourself by investing in others. I get joy out of this and making these new connections. And when they come in my channel, we get to know each other better, and it just grows the family and everyone benefits from it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thinking back to the first thing we were talking about in the stream about why you started acting.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a human need.
It's a human need. And I think it's something that not only has probably also satisfied you now in what you're doing now, but it's something that you offer everyone in your chat.
Yeah.
Is the ability to be seen and heard.
Yeah. And how to express.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Not only by yourself, but by everyone else in your community.
Yeah.
Very authentically. You're going to continue acting.
Yeah, of course.
I
love it.
You're going to continue streaming.
Absolutely. I love it.
Is there something else that you want to be growing out of that side, out of the streaming side? Now that you're kind of creating something for yourself, it's addicting to create something for yourself that works.
Yeah.
Because that's what we all want as actors, to create our own opportunities. And here you successfully start to do that in this other industry. So do you see a growth there to something bigger than Twitch?
I don't know if this is the answer to your question, but my writing partner, Daniel Randers K, we've been writing, web series and sketches for over a decade now. We've tried to develop different television shows, and we've got feature film scripts that we're trying to get done and pitch kits, and we've gone to networks and we've done the whole thing. We've been writing what seems like forever. And I'd be lying to say we feel like we've gotten absolutely nowhere in 10 years. Like there's been zero progress. So as writers, I'm hungry to develop some stuff that we've written. So far, the stuff that we have been able to produce has been well received, So it makes you feel like you have something to offer. But then when you feel like you're constantly up against a brick wall with no idea where to go, it can be really discouraging because you put so much time. Like writing a script takes forever. Writing a television show and then a pitch kit and all these things take so many hours and you never see anything from it. So that is an avenue that I would love, both of us would love to see develop into something that can sustain us and provide for us. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any final tips? First off, let me ask, do you have any tips for maybe someone who's starting out as a actor or streamer? Okay. And then second is anything that you can offer someone who might be going through either a dark period or a comparison period?
Just like immerse yourself. Just take all the classes, work on all the student projects, all the indie plays. Just do as much work as you can because everybody's journey is going to be different. And it's okay. I'm going to say this. It's okay to compare yourself because you can't help it. To judge yourself or to pretend like it's not okay to compare would be lying to yourself. You will compare yourself to others, but you need to learn how to deal with comparing yourself. Let yourself off the hook for comparing. Don't make it mean something. One person's success does not mean you're a failure, and vice versa. One person's failure doesn't mean that you're the bee's knees. Everyone's journey is going to be different. You will compare yourself. You will find others doing the jobs you wish you had, and there will be others who wish they were in your position. So don't let the noise and the judgment get in the way of your goals because you don't know when it's going to be your turn to get a Watchdogs 2 or anything. But do the work. Work on your craft, get an agent, start auditioning. For streaming, find what makes you, I don't know, not to say what makes you interesting, but like know yourself. Like the better you know who you are, the more you can share what people might find interesting about you to the world. Go out there and make mistakes and learn who you are and just share yourself with the world because there are so many people wearing masks who are pretending to be a certain way or feel a certain thing. Take off the masks, say the wrong things, be who you are unapologetically, and give other people the permission to be human. And that will be attractive.
John, thank you for joining me today.
Julian, thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate you asking.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. I encourage you all to go check out his stream. I'm going to leave all your links in the bottom.
Click on the something somewhere.
PapaJDub.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julian. Cheers. That's a wrap.
Thanks so much for watching today's interview. If you want to check out the rest of them, head to the Out of Frame playlist. And if you want to support the channel, make sure you subscribe and like and leave a comment, share with a friend, all the usual stuff. So thanks again, and I'll see you at the next one.